Hello and thanks for watching. In this video, I'll be demonstrating the Evaluate assessment platform from a student perspective for its 2nd through 12th grade assessments. Evaluate is a web-based assessment platform which integrates with the school or district's student information system through an automated nightly interface using Evaluate's secure and robust SIS integration tools. Changes in the school's roster data is reflected in Evaluate the very next day with no manual data entry required. Schools also have the option to use Clever for single sign-on and automated SIS integration. Here we are at the Evaluate login screen. Students are automatically assigned a user ID and age-appropriate password through the nightly SIS integration process. If the school wishes to use their own school or district-assigned student credentials, that too can be accommodated. The Evaluate student dashboard is designed to be simple and easy to navigate for a wide range of students from 2nd up to 12th grade. On the left side of the dashboard is a list of all the active assessments for the student. Each assessment shows its current status with a button labeled Start, Finish, or Review. In this case, the student has one assessment which has been completed, it shows a score, and the button indicates that it can be reviewed. The other assessment has not yet been started and is not scored. Students are assigned to an assessment series at the beginning of the year. The assessments show up on the student's dashboard automatically based on the assessment's start and end date. Assessments can also be configured to show up as locked, and teachers have the ability to easily unlock any assessments assigned to their class. This ensures that students are only taking tests during the teacher-guided testing sessions in the classroom or computer lab. On the right side of the dashboard, students can see how they performed on their previous month's assessment. If completed, they can also see how their current scores measure up to their previous test. For this student, he had a 12% increase since his previous test. Students can also click on the chart or the scores below to get into more detailed drill-down reporting. I'll demonstrate student reports in a separate video. Okay, so that covers just about everything on the dashboard. There's a couple things that I didn't get to yet, which is the training test button and this help button. The help button pops open in a new window a simple PDF guide that describes the key components of the student dashboard and a definition for each of the tools. So that's just a simple, quick one-pager help guide. The training test, on the other hand, now this pops open in a new window, and this is a opportunity for students to try out each of the question types that they're going to see on the assessment. And each of the questions on the training test is designed to describe to the student what they're doing on screen and helps guide them through using each of the questions. I'll show that in a separate video. What I'd like to do next, though, is open up the actual assessments so you can see what the assessment interface looks like. We'll open one that's in review mode to show you what that looks like, and then I'll open one that needs to be finished. I'll start with that. This is our reading demo test. So the assessment opens up in a new window. And this is a demo test, so there's only 9 questions in it, but this gives you an idea of what the assessment interface looks like. Across the top, we have the main toolbar. Along the side here, we have our question map, or a list of questions in the assessment. And in the center is the main content of the questions. This reading question contains a reading passage on the left side, which can be expanded to reduce the amount of scrolling that's necessary. And the question prompt, or question stem, over on the right side. On the left side here with the question map, we color code each of the questions to indicate which is the current question and which questions have been answered. You'll see that change as I navigate through the test. On the top here we have accessibility tools. In this case, the student only has 2 accessibility tools shown. This is our zoom in, zoom out button. Clicking on that simply zooms up to 4 levels, or I can zoom back down. We have the ability to add additional accessibility tools, which I'll show you in a separate video. On the right side are some of what we call our global or universal tools. These are tools that are available for all students. And depending on the test, you may find some others up here, like a calculator for the math test. One of the tools is our text-to-speech. So clicking on the headphones brings up a new sub-menu of controls, and one of them is a play button.
Click the 2 pieces of evidence in the text that inform the reader the book Raina found was not often handled. Far in the back.
Okay, you get the idea there. That plays the text on the screen. And we have a note-taking tool and a highlighter tool. So first I'll show the highlighter tool. So the highlighter defaults to yellow, And when I'm reading my passage, you can see my cursor turns into a little highlighter icon. And now I can highlight pieces of the passage that I feel are going to be important to answering the question. I can also do something like remove, or maybe I want this name to be a different color. So maybe I feel that Raina is the main character. I want to highlight the main characters in blue. So I can easily change the color of my highlighting. So that's the highlight tool. Let's move on to the next question. And a couple things are happening here. You can see up at the top that this question now has a little icon next to it, and that shows me that I used a tool on this question. That's a mini highlighter icon there that indicates that I've used the highlighter tool on question 1. You can see now that question 2 is highlighted in blue. If I go back up to question 1 and I answer the question, this is a clickable text question type, and for this one it's asking me to click 2 sentences in this passage, in this paragraph, to answer the question. Now I'm going to move on. I'm going to show you a couple things that happened here. On the left side of the screen, you can see that question 1 is now grayed out. That means that it's been answered, and it also has that highlighter icon. Now I'm on question 2. Question 2 uses the same reading passage, but it has 2 parts to it. It's a part A and a part B. So part A is a multiple choice, and I can scroll down for part B. This is a multiple answer. So now for this one, I'm having to read the question prompt and click on one or more of the answers to answer the question properly. And on this one, I'll show you the note-taking tool. Simple notepad tool where I can take a note, and that saves with the question. And if I navigate on, you can see that now I have a different icon on question 2. And if I would have used multiple tools on question 1 or 2, I would have multiple icons next to each question here. So that's just keeping track of what I've accomplished on each of the questions. Okay, so I've showed you some of the key components of the assessment interface. Again, we have the question map on the left, we have the main toolbar across the top, and then we have the question content. In this reading assessment, we show passages on the left side if the question has a reading passage. Not all questions will. And we have the main question on the right side. I've showed you a couple different question types. I do plan to show you in a separate video each of the different question types that we have in Evaluate. And I'll navigate through just to give you an idea of a couple of the other questions. So here's a drag and drop question type, which sometimes will be used with our reading tests. In this case, the student is expected to read the reading passage here and then answer the question by dragging and dropping these check marks onto the graphic on the right. Here's a question, simple multiple choice question, but I wanted to show you another feature of our multiple choice questions where you can strike through or eliminate answer choices. So in this case, I'm asked to read the definition and then read this sentence and ask which definition of the word best fits the context of the sentence. So for this one, reading the question, I think that question 4 is probably not a good choice. So I can use the strike through tool to strike out that answer choice. Definition 3 may also not be a great choice. Now it's between definition 1 and 2. I think the best fitting definition would probably be number 1. So I'm going to go ahead and answer with number 1. So this is optional to use the strike through tool, but it's something that will help students narrow down the correct answer. And I'm going to show you one last feature, and that is the ability to flag a question. So it may be that for this question I just did not understand what they were looking for, but I want to come back to it later. I can flag it to review it later. And I can even answer it and still keep it flagged and review it later. As I navigate on, you can see now that this question has a flag next to it. And I'm going to show you what happens when I attempt to complete the assessment with a flagged question. Question 9 is another multiple choice. And you can see now that I still can't finish this test because I haven't answered 2 of my questions. So I'm just going to quickly go ahead and answer questions 3 and 4. And now I get a green finish button at the top of my screen. So the system automatically recognizes that all the questions have now been answered and I can finish the test. I get a message from the system saying that I have a question marked for review. And I completed the test with only a 27%. I can go back to my home window, and what you'll see happen here is my dashboard automatically refreshes, and I get a score on this one. And you can see that that's a 45% decrease from my previous assessment. Lastly, I'm going to show you what review mode looks like. Evaluate offers 3 different levels of review or feedback that students can receive on their completed assessments. The first level, or the least amount of feedback, is just showing the student what they answered. It just gives them their answer choices. The second level of feedback would show the student their answer choice and whether it was right or wrong. And the third level of feedback shows the student their answer choice, whether they got it right or wrong, and what the correct answer was. Those 3 levels of feedback can be configured to show up immediately after the student takes the test, or maybe after the assessment window, so after the assessment month, for example. You could have it set so that immediately after the test you're only showing the student their answer, but then after the assessment window, after all students have completed the test, you'll show the student their answer and the correct answer. On this assessment, which is in review mode, I've configured it to show that third level of review. So you're going to see the student's answer and the correct answer. And this differs by the type of question. So for this, a drag and drop, I'm seeing how the student answered the drag and drop over here. I'm seeing whether the question was marked right or wrong, and I have this button for drag and drop to show the correct. And I can click on that. By clicking on that, it shows me what the correct response looks like for this question. And mine matches that pretty closely. It doesn't have to match perfectly because, again, this is a drag and drop, and I may have dragged something just slightly over to the left or to the right, but the system knew to score it correctly. Another thing I'd like to show you is the question list on the left. The question list is color-coded to indicate whether you got the question right or wrong. Green means you got it right, red means you got it wrong. Navigate to the next question. Again, here with our graphing questions, it pops open the correct answer in a new window so you can see how it would have looked if I answered it correctly, and I did. Here on question number 5, I answered both questions correctly. Had I answered them incorrectly, I would have seen the correct answer here and my answer marked wrong. You'll get a sample of that on the next question. On question 6, this is a 3-part multi-part question. On this one, it has a drag and drop that I answered incorrectly, and I can pop it open to see that. This was the correct answer. It also has a multiple choice, so this shows me the choice that I selected and what the correct answer was. And on this one, it tells me that the correct answer, just by hovering over, was 3.2. And I answered it with a 5. And that concludes this video. Look for additional Evaluate videos to show student reporting, teacher and administrator dashboards, and other functionality related to the Evaluate assessment product. Thanks.